Hello, my friends. Today, the situation on the front lines remains challenging. This is because Putin is trying to seize as much Ukrainian land as possible before any ceasefire takes effect. Even the UK Foreign Secretary expressed confidence in an interview that Trump could end this war in the near future. Russia's war against Ukraine could be over by the end of April under Trump, said UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy. Donald Trump is not yet in power. From what I've seen in recent days, there are signs he's stepping back from the idea that a deal could be reached by January 21st, but I now think that's unlikely. We're hearing the timeline has shifted toward Easter, stated UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy. Meanwhile, Trump's team has reported that he wants to appear strong, so they are still working on a plan to end the war. Trump's team is revising its approach to ending the war in Ukraine, writes the Financial Times, citing European officials who have discussed this issue with the incoming US administration. According to one of the newspaper's sources, Trump team is obsessed with the desire to appear strong, which is why they're reassessing their stance on Ukraine. The FT notes that Trump's team hasn't yet decided how to end the war, which likely means Washington will continue supporting Ukraine after the inauguration of the elected US president. The transition team is also concerned that their actions could be compared to the catastrophic withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan under Joe Biden, a scenario they are keen to avoid in Ukraine during Trump's tenure. However, it's clear that Trump will only begin discussions with Putin after the inauguration, and only then will it become clear under what terms this war might end. Meanwhile, Putin is urgently trying to push Ukrainian forces out of the Kursk region so the counteroffensive continues. Unfortunately, the Russians are making gains despite the Ukrainian forces launching a new offensive in the area just days ago. Yesterday, Russian and North Korean forces managed to push the Ukrainian forces back at three different frontline sections. Today, it's evident they are attempting to cut off the salient near the village of Pogrebki. They are attacking from three sides in an effort to strengthen the front line here. They are also continuing their push against the Ukrainian forces in Большое Солдатское. Yesterday, they managed to force Ukrainian forces troops away from the highway, and fighting in this area is ongoing today. Further south, clashes are happening near Makhnovka, but so far Russian forces haven't achieved new gains there. In the Kharkiv direction, shelling persists, but there are no offensive actions. The front line remains stable. Fighting is only observed near Vovchansk, where Russian forces have failed to make any significant progress for a long time. It seems that their plans to create a buffer zone in the Kharkiv region before the war ends have already collapsed. Zelensky has stated that while Ukraine is not yet joining NATO, initiatives to deploy European peacekeepers on Ukrainian territory are under consideration.
Regarding the deployment of a contingent to Ukraine, there's a significant detail. Reportedly, the UK has responded positively.
It's clear that the support of a few countries won't suffice. However, this initiative could be a serious component of future security guarantees for Ukraine. This proposal was initiated by Emmanuel Macron. The British view it positively, but I will discuss the specifics with the Prime Minister during our upcoming meeting. He will visit Ukraine, and we will talk. There are already significant agreements between our countries, but those details will come later. In any case, we cannot rely solely on European security guarantees. Against a foe like Russia, European guarantees alone are insufficient. Ukraine requires unified security guarantees from both the United States and Europe. We recognize the strength and reliability of NATO, however. Until Ukraine becomes a NATO member, we need interim security guarantees from both the US and European allies.
Meanwhile, in the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces continue their offensive, attempting to storm Golubivka and Petropavlivka. However, the Ukrainian forces have successfully repelled all attacks so far, maintaining an unchanged front line in this area. In the Borova direction, the Russians are assaulting Boguslavka, Kopanki, and Novoyegorivka, while attempting breakthrough near the village of Nadia. However, they have made no new advances over the past day. Further south, near the village of Makivka, activity has completely ceased and the front line remains unchanged over the last 24 hours. In contrast, the situation around Lyman is deteriorating. Russian forces are increasing their activity, attempting to expand the territory under their control near Ivanivka and the village of Terny. There have been even recent attempts to advance toward the village of Kolodязy. However, the Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacking groups, maintaining an unchanged front line in the area. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are assaulting Bilohorivka and conducting shelling in the area. From the south, they also attempted a breakthrough near Vasyukivka, but failed, leaving the front line unchanged. In the Chasiv Yar direction, Russian forces are preparing to advance on the flanks as shelling has been recorded near the village of Markove. However, no assaults have been observed yet. Further south, there are attempting breakthroughs across the fields toward Bila Hora. Despite these efforts, the front line has remained stable over the past day. In the Toretsk direction, the Russians continue the attacks on the outskirts of the city. They need to advance approximately 800 meters to reach their objectives, making the situation here grim. They are also assaulting Dachne and attempting to break through to the Livka, but no changes to the front line have been observed over the past day. In the Pokrovsk direction near Mirnograd, Russian forces are still trying to pull the front line closer to the highway. While no new breakthroughs have been recorded, assaults on Baranivka, Yelizavetivka, and Mirolyubivka continue. Reports from the Ukrainian forces indicate that despite previous breakthroughs of Russian vehicles toward the highway, no strongholds have been established there. Mirnograd direction. Essentially, we lack manpower here. There are not enough people to stop these bastards from advancing. That armored and airborne assault showed there were no strongholds near the highway. They should have been as essential as infantry because this highway is critically important, something the High Command should have understood. The Russian infantry is trying to entrench and seize this opportunity. They'll dig in so deeply it'll be nearly impossible to dislodge them later. Now, an eastern threat to Pokrovsk is ensured. How to stop the Russians or with what, I don't know. It will take a miracle to delay this somehow. For now, we have what we have. Near Pokrovsk, battles are ongoing for Lysivka, Zelene, and Zvirove, and advances are being made toward Kotlene, while assaults on Nadezhdenka. Shalin also continues, but the front line remains unchanged over the past day. In the Kurakhove direction, activity remains nearly as intense as in the Pokrovsk sector. Here, Russian forces are assaulting Yasenova and Slovyanka, attempting breakthroughs near Petropavlivka and storming Shevchenko and Constantinople, while advancing across the fields from the village of Konstantinopolsk. Shelling of Andriivka persists, with Russian forces trying to encircle the settlement from two sides. However, no new changes to the front line have been observed over the past day, and Ukrainian soldiers have reported withdrawing from Kurakhove without being encircled. Well, that's it. No miracle happened. The battles, which lasted more than 2 months, are over, and they only ended the day before yesterday, contrary to earlier reports claiming otherwise. Marching in a straight line and raising a full flag is one thing, securing the many surrounding buildings is another. The withdrawal from the pipe factory and the power plant was difficult. The most important thing is that our garrison defended the city, avoided encirclement, and safely escaped the pocket. In the coming days, the Russians will likely boast publicly about their successes as we adjust our defensive lines. But in reality, those lines are already being established as we speak. Our Marines and airborne troops played a crucial role in defending this sector, delaying the withdrawal from Kurakhove by at least 1.5 months. This situation became inevitable after we lost Ukrainsk, Hernik, and Vuhledar nearly simultaneously. At that point, holding Kurakhove became untenable, and a withdrawal was only a matter of time. We are not saying goodbye to Kurakhove as the armed forces of Ukraine will return there. Ukraine will return. France. Do you think Ukraine will retake the occupied territories? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. In the Velika Novosilka direction, Russian forces continue to assault Novosilka and Shal frontline territories. However, no new attacks on Velika Novosilka have been recorded, and the frontline remains unchanged over the past day. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Havashalin continues, but no offensive actions are being reported. The situation on the front line remains unchanged. The head of the Zaporizhzhia Regional Military Administration noted that it seems Putin has abandoned plans for a major offensive in the area. I believe Putin had prepared but decided against an offensive on Zaporizhzhia because we were very well prepared, and I thank our military for that. Will Putin prepare for another offensive in this region? It's hard to say. Today we don't see significant threats to the Zaporizhzhia front line. Meanwhile, a former UK Defense Secretary has again raised questions about why Ukraine hasn't mobilized its population from the age of 18.
I've always had for Zelensky is why didn't you mobilize your people? In 1939 we mobilized men, and in 1941 the Women at War Act we mobilized women. Right? And if you are against an enemy that wants to annihilate you, as Adolf Hitler did, then why haven't we mobilized?
So he has not actually recruited as many young men as people.
He hasn't. And Zelensky took a view that he was wanting to preserve the sort of 18 to 28-year-olds or younger, and it's not a mass conscription. Now, I would have said, and I've written it, what I think they should have done is mobilized, asked Europe to train them, right? Because that's not a hard ask. If you ask them to train people, that's not difficult. And then they go back to their houses, they put their helmets under the bed, they put their uniforms in the cupboard, they go back to work, and you can then call them up. And that hasn't happened.
Friends, share your thoughts in the comments. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces continue attacks near Nova Kakhovka and are attempting to secure positions on Zabych Islands. The likelihood of them crossing to the right bank is significant, but for now, the Ukrainian forces manage to destroy all advancing groups. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.